in every kind of disaster for their savior to come. This is how abhorring their worldview is. Add to this terrorists, missiles, bombs, and nuclear capabilities, and that is your doomsday prescription. In 1979, when Khomeini became the Imam and Vilayat-e-Faqih, claims that not warranted and or substantiated by Islam outlined the true and real tenets of the new Persian Shia Empire. Export the evolution. That was the Iran's mantra at that time. Export the revolution. He meant to infect the mostly Arab and Turkish region with the Persian Shia virus. The real agenda behind this was to create more tension and violence in the region, to divide the region into sectarian lines, to import the delusional ideologies of Persian historical greatness and mixed with Shiism, to shake the region with new waves of violence, militarism, sacrificing millions to prepare the great disaster for the coming of the hidden and promised Imam Mahdi, and to export this poisonous mentality to use of Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Azerbaijan, Turkey, Yemen, Bahrain, and elsewhere. Khomeini, from the first weeks of coming to power, set the policy of intervention in the affairs of the region's countries. He openly identified among his enemies Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and almost all neighbors. His ideology respects no borders. As in his many speeches that set the foreign policy of Iran, the Persian Shia influence has been grown in the region and is the cause of many problems in the region. This, of course, would never be possible without Russian and Chinese backings and American blessings. As the Christian club in the Europe and US are more benefited and profited, both strategically and economically, if over 1 billion non-Persian and non-Shia Muslims in the world are so occupied with the evil threats from the meddlings of Iran in their affairs, equipped with nuclear capabilities and ambitions of death to this country and death to that country, this is disastrous in our region. I always wonder when the Muslims of the world when they will wake up to defy the death cult of mullahs of Iran. 8 years war with Iraq, then taking control of it after little help from Uncle Sam's troops, dividing Iraq to sectarian lines, creating new entities like Kurdistan and Sunni areas and Shia areas, manipulating anti-Sunni and anti-Muslim sentiments, taking control of Syrian minority, the Alawi's governments, interfering managing armies like Hezbollah in Lebanon, creating the army of Quds, that is Iran's army in our region, in Arabic region especially. I want to mention more than 50,000 Iranian special forces under the name of Sepah-e-Quds, means army of Qudus. Qudus they call it Jerusalem, is in Iraq and Syria and Lebanon and even in Sudan and in a secret plain clothes in Turkey and Azerbaijan and other places. Quds army specialized in interfering in the neighboring countries and the world, sending terrorists to assassinate Iraqi pilots, torture and kill many dissidents abroad, Russian style, interfering in internal affairs of Pakistan, Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Turkey, and supporting, arming distant Shia groups in Yemen of Zaydis and Houthis, causing millions of deaths, destruction, suffering, and instilling fear in the region. This is the product of so-called Islamic Republic of Iran. Coming to recent events in Yemen, thanks to Arab coalition and countries of Arabian Gulf and allies under the leadership of Saudi Arabia, now
Parts of south of Yemen is liberated. City of Aden is under legal authority of Yemeni government. And the tide of events has changed, of course. Now, after 37 years of implementation of Iranian expansionist policies, someone put an end and stop to Iranian expansionism. It is late, but it's still enough to make Iran understand that peoples of the region are fed up with the pain and suffering of Iranian expansionist policies. What Iranian terrorist regime planned was that they could control the Strait of Hormuz and the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, so they can have a hand on the throat of the oil and energy routes in the region. But fortunately, the operation's decisive storm and restoring hope, Iran's imperialistic dreams are turned to nightmares. What I think is, what I wish Saudi Arabia and coalition should defy Iranian expansionism when they were landing cargo planes in Yemen years ago, carrying parts of Scud missiles and all other goods of war to the hands of the Houthis. When Iran was sending tens of thousands of special forces, Sepah goods to Iraq to create Sadr's army, Mahdi's army, Hezbollah, Sudan, Lebanon, Bahrain, and Emirat, and many others, Operation Decisive Storm and Restoring Hope is a turning point in Iranian expansionism in the region. Even though it was late, but it is crucial in the region's history, I hope the same would be in the other Arab lands too. Personally, and literally under Iranian occupation, namely Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon, US and allies, Russians and Chinese, have always benefited from tension in our region. Of course, they can sell us more of those modern and updated, and then again more modern and updated weapons, and or not so modern weaponry, reserving the real lethal ones for themselves, and Israel, of course, creating more ethnic, religious, and national, and ecological, and economical, and other problems and suffering in the region, and then offering assurances, protections, and assistance. Brothers and sisters, this is the story of our region. This is the story of colonialism, the modern colonialism. This is the real story of new imperialism. All is played in the theater of our lands and on the lives of our people. Let us say it clearly that Iran is the greatest problem in our region. And as the Saudi Arabian official once said before, the head of the serpent should be crushed in advance. Now, with the blessing of US and under the light of so-called nuclear agreement, are we feeling a little bigger and stronger? Are we facing a little bigger and stronger serpent? Obviously, with the vague and secret agreement with Iran, Persian Shia terrorism would be on the rise in the region again, and we should be watching for more tension and violence in coming years. This agreement is so secretive, with many annexes and addendums, that is not being discussed both in US and Iran Congress. This agreement, from what we know, gives Iran terrorist regime an even open hand in the region to exact more havoc and chaos in our countries. We are openly saying that this agreement would embolden Iran in its adventurous and apocalyptic policies, and would not add peace and harmony to the already shattered region. This is exactly what they want in our homes and in our neighbors' homes. It is time to bravely stop in the face of Iran's expansionism in our region and set them in their right place. The Operation Decisive Storm
and restoring hope is exactly doing that. Defying Iran's meddling in Yemen and supporting the legitimate government, delivering food and medicine to people who suffered under Houthi coup, backed and armed by Iranian terrorist regime. This is a more important issue that we are missing. There's a more important issue that we are missing here. Aren't we acting so reactively? Are we always going to wait for Iran to do something and then we are going to react to it? Are we so without a plan and without a vision in our own region? No. Let's remember what is Iran. A prison of peoples. The number one country in the world when it comes to abuses of women, children, illegal arrests, illegal executions, human rights abuses, nations' rights abuses, language rights, and on and so on and on. Let's remember that when Iran is cunningly bringing the war, a proxy war, to our countries in the region, why don't we take the war they so much desire to them? There are more division in Iran than in the region. Let's value and honor those who poured to the streets of Tabriz and Urmia in the defiance of Persian Iranians, shout slogans like Arabian Gold, alongside independence for South Azerbaijan and national rights, and get arrested for that. Let's see and feel the calls of brotherhood and alliance from South Azerbaijan. Iran is not a real country with real people who want to be so-called Iranian and identified with Persian. What you know as Iran is an apartheid regime of holding Arabs of Al-Ahwaz, Turkmens, Kurds, Baluchis, and South Azerbaijani Turks. These nations want independence. These people deserve self-determination. They want to live in their own country with their own laws and their own language and their own way of practicing their own religion. They don't want Persian Shia regime of Iran to dictate to them every aspect of their lives. Dear brothers and sisters, to put a real stop to Iran's Persian Empire dream, the struggle and fight should have two wings. One, to combat the Iranian forces and proxies head-to-head, as in Bahrain and Yemen and Syria and elsewhere. And the other is to sympathize with the people under oppression of Iran, to hear their cry for freedom, for their national and human rights. In Azerbaijan, there is an old anecdote that talks about a devil whose life is hidden in a glass. And if the glass breaks, the evil devil would just drop and die. Now, here, as I always mention in my talks, I will reiterate that the life glass of the devil of the Persian Shia domination should be and could be shattered in the streets of Tabriz, the capital city of South Azerbaijan. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to mention that the real conflict in our region is not about Sunni or Shia, Persians or Arabs or Turks. In reality, the idea is about to create more tension, violence and chaos in our region using visionless Persian nationalist and Shia apocalyptic dominated government of Tehran and destruction of our sources and resources in our lands. The idea is to keep us behind technologically, economically, culturally, and less human as possible. So they can blame all of the problems of humanity to us. So they can come and offer us remedy for our wounds. Let us assist the oppressed people of South Azerbaijan and Ahbaz and all other oppressed people of Iran. So they can take out the serpent and crush its head. So every nation and people of the region can live in peace and harmony with others. I would like to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for your patience and time listening to my grievances about suffering of my nation, South Azerbaijan. Thanks Shukran wa salaman. Freedom for South Azerbaijan.